Out there, legal warriors, do you ever wonder why there are so many plea bargains in the criminal system? And is it good or bad if you're charged with a crime to try to plea bargain your case? Well, if you're interested in this area of the law, stay tuned. This is the video for you. My name's Attorney Lance Fryrear. I'm a defense attorney in Linwood, Washington. My law firm's been defending people charged with crimes all throughout Washington state for more than 20 years, and I'm putting out these videos to help educate the public. So if you find this useful, please like and please subscribe. More people get the help they need. Now I'm just going to jump right into it. Plea bargaining. I've been a criminal defense attorney for 20 plus years, prosecutor for 7 years. And, in the most part, people understand that plea bargaining is part of the criminal system. But sometimes I get a call on the phone. It's like, hey, I don't want to plea bargain my case. And so I thought I should put out a video to explain what plea bargaining is, why so many cases resolve by a plea bargain, and also, is it a good idea or bad idea in most cases to engage in what some people call plea bargaining? So where do we start? Let's start with what a plea bargain is. Basically, think about it as a negotiation between the government, as represented by the prosecutor, and your defense attorney for finding out a way to resolve your case. And so plea bargaining doesn't necessarily involve pleading guilty. So just take out the word plea and think about negotiating. Shall we try to negotiate the case, or shall we just move the case straight towards trial? So in most cases, I think we would all agree that negotiating is probably a good idea because we might be able to come to a result that limits the risk of the client and gets the result the client wants. So plea bargaining sort of has this the sound to it that we're entering a plea of guilty to something, and that's not necessarily the case. So let's just start. Let's not call it plea bargaining. Let's call it negotiating. So why do so many cases end up being resolved by way of negotiating or plea bargaining? Well, let's think about it. The system has thousands and thousands of cases a year per court. So a court handles a certain jurisdiction, a certain geography of crimes that occur within that geography. And there might be, for example, a local district court. Let's say they have 500 cases that run through their court in a month, and maybe they only have room to have a trial on 4 or 5 cases a month. There's only so many trial days, so much court staff, so much prosecutor staff, so much time to resolve cases. And in felonies, even less in the superior court, because those can take weeks. Each trial could be weeks long, not days long, like in district court. So we have all these cases backed up. What are we going to do with them? Well, in all types of negotiation, each side has an incentive to limit their risk, right? So the defense would like to end up with a dismissal of the case, a reduction in the case, something where we can limit our risk and not let the 6 people who weren't smart enough to get out of jury duty decide whether or not we go home or not. Okay, 6 people for district court, 12 people for a superior court case. And what about the prosecutor? I was a prosecutor, so the prosecution is thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do with all these cases? I've got 20 cases on the trial calendar. I only can go to maybe trial once or twice this whole week, given how long they're going to last. What am I going to do with the other 19 or 18 cases that I can't take to trial? Well, if I don't try to resolve the case in some way, I may get nothing out of the case because speedy trial will run. And that's a court rule that says you have to take a case to trial within a certain amount of time. And I might be forced just to dismiss the case outright. And I don't want to do that. So maybe I should try to negotiate or plea bargain the case with the defense so I can have responded to the case in some way and not just have nothing good come from whatever bad happened with the alleged criminal charge. So even the court has an interest in the parties negotiating cases because there's only so many trials they could do. And to be honest, most judges, they don't want to sit on a trial for 8 or 9 hours a day and be late going home. And it's stressful on everybody, the entire system. So there's an incentive on each side to try to negotiate a case and work it out. So is it a good idea for your attorney to negotiate or plea bargain a case? Almost always, yes. It does not hurt to try to negotiate a case. Realize that, in my opinion, when people talk, but the prosecutor has to prove it, and I've just been responding to some YouTube comments where some valued viewers were saying that. Let's remember what proof is. Proof is whatever the jury says it is. Okay, and nowadays, in my opinion, people are pretty upset. This is not the most rosy time in our country's history. And so people are looking for scapegoats, they're looking to get even. And jurors, as humans, are very easily influenced, especially for scapegoating the defendant. You must be bad, you're charged with a crime, right? It's hard for the defense to turn around in most cases and blame law enforcement or get a jury to actually think about what beyond a reasonable doubt means. So the prosecutor has to prove it. Yeah, that's true. But we always have to remember that proof is in the eye of the jury, and they're influenceable by emotions, by just the mere fact that someone's the defendant, by what they see on TV about crime. All types of biases and everything else play into their decision. So why would we ever, if we have a chance and a choice, why would we ever want to let the jury decide our case if we could get out of it in any other way? Because we give up control, right? And defense attorneys can get not guilty verdicts, and it happens, okay? It happens for our firm, happens for other firms. But I always want to look at a trial, hopefully as not the last resort, but pretty close to it, because we want to try to get a good result without leaving the proof up to the eye of the beholder, because they don't think, the jury doesn't think like we do. The jury doesn't think like the prosecution does. It thinks like whatever random 6 to 12 people get picked out based upon their life experiences and things like that. So yes, in my opinion, negotiating, plea bargaining is a great idea because we can try to get an offer on the table that works for us, that has no risk. And the good news is, if it doesn't work, we still get the chance to go to a trial. We still have a right to a trial. So whenever I hear a client on the phone say, Lance, I'm not taking any deals, I want a trial, that's probably someone that has watched a little bit too much TV and a little bit emotional at the time. And they need to be educated that, yes, a trial is an absolute option. It's a great tool to use as part of plea bargaining. If you don't give us what we want, we're going to take this to trial, and it's going to be hard on you, Mr. or Ms. Prosecutor, right? That's a great technique. But if we just go into things thinking trial or nothing, we give up a huge way to get out of this mess without any risk. So what have we covered here? Why does negotiating or plea bargaining happen? Because the system has too many cases for how many they can take to trial, and each side wants to limit the risk. Is plea bargaining or negotiating a good idea? In my opinion, yes, it's a good idea to try to get the best offer on the table. The exceptions would be a major felony where you're never going to be able to negotiate it. Well, then spend all the time building the defense and the factual defense and things like that. But I want to just sort of change people's thinking out there about the dirty word plea bargaining and think more about it like negotiating. And you don't give up anything. It's all gain. It's all gain where you're trying to find out what's the best offer we can get on the table, where I, as the client, can control the outcome and get a result that I need, want, and deserve. So if you found this video useful, please like and please subscribe. More people get the help they need. And more importantly, if you have a legal problem in Washington State, you can give my office a call. We'll listen to what happened, we'll identify a way forward, and we will be there for you. Thank you.